Welcome to Phonogenics 101, a Riotboy production hosted by Jeremy Gloff. The podcast where people who love music discuss albums track by track. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Jeremy Gloff or Venmo @Jeremy Gloff. And now, on to the music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Phonogenics 101. What a lucky week for our two viewers. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of people actually subscribed this week, so I'm really happy about that. We have two podcasts this week. We did Janet Jackson Discipline last night, which Jimmy was there for. He's not wearing that sexy leather hat that he wore last night, though. He's toned it down a little bit for tonight. We're doing the Curse of Blondie, so we're continuing the Blondie journey. Everybody on here has been on here before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, so no need for an introduction, but Charlie, you do have a podcast that you're doing, so do you want to promote your podcast?
Yes, Turntables and Tea. We're off this week, so but we have a lot of stuff coming up. But next up, we cover a variety of different albums, but do listen Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on all of them.
Well, it's a pleasure having another podcast celebrity on Phonogenics 101. As always, thanks to my Patreon subscribers, some that are here. Thanks to the YouTube subscribers, blah, 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 all that shit. But I am grateful for it because there's another podcast out there. I'm not going to say who or what it is, but I'm feeling a little competitive. And, it's good to have a little competitive. We're doing pretty good. So I'm like, yeah, baby. Because I just put these out in the world and Jimmy promotes them. So we're doing good. All right, enough of me. Curse of Blondie. I moved to Florida in 1998. I was poor growing up, so I never went to concerts. But when I moved to Florida, I don't know how to say this tactfully. I went into a better income bracket. Let's just be honest. I got my life together, and I was able to start really going to concerts. There were a lot more concerts in Tampa than there were in Buffalo, New York. And Blondie was playing at Janice Landing in St. Pete in 2003 or early 2004. I think it was early 2004. And that was the first time I'd seen Blondie live. And Janice Landing is just this kind of smaller outdoor venue. I saw the Go-Go's there. I saw Cyndi Lauper. One of my friends asked Belinda Carlisle for an autograph as the Go-Go's were leaving. She said, I don't think so. And she actually wrote about that gig in her autobiography because I think that was like a pretty low point in her addiction. So I'm like, I was at that concert and you were mean to my friend. But anyway, I remember seeing Blondie. It was like one of those venues where you could get there early and stand in the front. And I was right up front with these two other Blondie fans. And first time seeing Debbie. And I remember they did some songs that were going to end up being on the Curse of Blondie. And the guys that were in line with me, I think their names were like Tom and I can't remember. But they knew all about the new Blondie album that was coming. They were telling me all about the Curse of Blondie and how they had this new song out called Good Boys. And they did Good Boys in the concert. And I thought, like, this is their next huge hit. Like, this is the next Maria. I just thought it was like a powerhouse Blondie single the first time I heard it in that concert. And then I feel like labels, weird stuff happened. And the album took longer to come out. And then it came out and I kind of never heard about it again. So that's my journey with Curse of Blondie. The Blondie fan, share your stories. I'd love to hear. I mean, No Exit was such a big comeback. They waited, this is 5 years later, right? Between albums.
Just see, 99 to 2003, it came out in the UK. I think it came out here in 2004.
Okay.
But yeah, there was quite the struggle to get this thing out. And guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of the reason was because of 9/11, and there may have been some masters or something that were destroyed, and so then they had to re-record some stuff, and then it just never really got any promotion. I agree with you that Good Boys. Sorry, that was the cat. Good Boys is a great song, and I think Jimmy wrote that. And then they had a great video with it and all that kind of good stuff, and yeah, the promotion just flopped for that song, for the album, for everything. I mean, there's like 20 plus different remixes of that song. People like Giorgio Moroder went in and remixed that song. It's so there was I think there was a lot of hope for that. I don't know what happened when it was released though.
I mean,
I'm remembering that I thought they did a fair amount of appearances on different things, because I went to the Carson Daly show when she was on there.
Right. They did do
when Blondie was on there performing it. And
right,
various videos and DVDs I have from television performances from that time.
Right. And they did do a lot of performances. They did do a lot, like they performed Good Boys on some talk shows and things like that. And then I believe that was right
VH1 Divas.
Yeah,
live.
the Divas. I think the Live by Request was before this, wasn't it? That was right after No Exit, wasn't it? Okay, Barry's shaking his head, so that must be yes. But yeah, Jimmy, you're right. There were a lot of performances, but as far as
radio play,
radio
play.
That I think that's the kind of promotion I'm talking about. I don't know what the deal was there, but I mean, I think had it gotten some more radio play, it probably would have been a much larger hit here than.
No, actually, this is after Curse of Blondie.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. That other live album was after Live or No Exit.
Right.
Yeah, it was the live album. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that part of the problem with it, I know that they were originally on Beyond Records, which was a small record label, which I guess they had apparently liked because they had more freedom with it. But Beyond Records went under while they were recording. And I think that was part of the problem. And I know that Craig Leon, who was producing Curse originally and had done the demos, was kind of forced out. He was supposed to be paid by Beyond Music, and Beyond Music went bankrupt.
Oh shit!
And he technically, I guess, owned the rights, or everything got held up in that. So there was a lot of hold up on the album in that regard. So apparently the story goes that they had to go back and just re-record everything.
Wow.
With new producers, yeah.
So there's a chance that Craig Leon has an original version of this album somewhere.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he gets a credit on the album as original producer or something, or producer of demos or something. But he does have a credit on the album.
That'd be interesting to hear, see the differences.
Now, when you think about 2003, 2004, was that kind of when Kylie was coming back out with like "Can't Get You Out of My Head," or was that around the same time?
A bit after. She put out Body Language 03.
Okay.
Follow up to Fever, but I can kind of hear that influence a bit here on this album at times.
Yep. That's why I thought Good Boys was going to be huge. Like it fit right in the pocket of that kind of like early 2000s. Because I was the club hoe really bad from like 93 to 2013. And I remember like in the early 2000s, it was a really interesting time in the clubs because all the 80s kids were still out clubbing. But then you had the 2000s kids, but all the music was really mixing. So the stuff, an 80s song would get played by a modern song that was influenced by the 80s, and they all kind of mixed. So you kind of have like Take On Me, then something from Kylie's new album, and then, Fisher Spooner, and then something like The Cure from the 80s. So like, I don't know if that was a Tampa thing or nationally, but we had a night here called Poppin' Wave where like the new dance songs were getting played with the retro mixed. And I thought Good Boys fit right in that pocket. I thought it was going to be huge, and it just never took off. Like I thought it was certainly the next Maria. When I still listen to it, I know we're going to do this track by track, but I think it's a killer Blondie single for sure.
I agree.
Totally.
Well, before we start getting into the track by track, does anyone else want to talk about their journey into this album?
Well, I can remember hearing songs like you had said, like leading up to it. I remember they were doing a tour with the B-52s, and I went out to Jones Beach out in New York, and they were performing out there. I had second row seats that I got through management or something. I just won them in something, and they was great. And I remember hearing a lot of this stuff, and we'll probably get into more of like the details of it. And I was really, really impressed. I felt that they had kind of gotten back to a more of their roots, more of a harder edge, and right. I was really, really impressed with the new stuff. They didn't play Good Boys though a night when I saw them. I remember they opened with Diamond Bridge,
Yep.
I was gobsmacked. I was just like, you know, my jaw just hit the ground. I thought it was just such a great song, and I thought, well, we'll get to it. But and then they did a few other songs, and I remember they were mixed in with like classic punk songs, and I just thought it was like, I'm like, this is the Blondie I remember. So I was I was really looking forward to this album a lot. And
was that the show where it rained so much we thought it was going to wash away the audience?
yes, Debbie came out with the umbrella. Yeah.
Wow.
We were wet. Yeah.
I feel like they definitely did Hello Joe in the concert I saw. They did Pet Cemetery. I know they did that cover.
Mhm.
They did Goldenrod.
Goldenrod,
I remember.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
they
I
also
remember
did-
there were some
they did
pictures
the
that came out.
television, See No Evil. Yeah, they did a lot of great old songs.
There were some pictures that came out of Debbie, and I don't know if it was a wig or she cut her hair, but I just felt like she looked so fresh, and I'm like, she looked straight out of Eat the Beat. Like she was just looking great during. I don't know if
Yeah,
it was
she
this
cut her
era.
hair.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Even
Oh.
she, I know this retroactively. She even cameoed on Will and Grace. It got cut from the reruns later on, but she cameoed during this era. That was the same season Madonna did for the American Life Cycle. So that's not no promo.
And there was a storyline that built up
Right.
like the end of the season before up through this season where Karen had an attorney that supposedly was Debbie's attorney for something that they did, and so every once in a while there'd be this reference to Debbie either by Karen or by who was it? Macaulay Culkin was playing the attorney.
Oh
And
yeah.
then, when they had the funeral of Karen's husband, that's when Debbie showed up as a guest at the funeral at the reception afterwards.
Yeah.
So.
Why'd she get cut from the reruns?
I don't know. A lot of them are edited on Hulu too, which sucks. But
Well, and I've got the DVD collection. She's cut out of that too.
yeah, a lot of the DVDs.
Yeah,
got
I'm just
cuts,
glad I
too.
taped the show so I could, have it, because that totally, irked me when you're going to watch. You buy the DVDs and like, what? Been edited? No.
All right, this is off track, but does anyone remember Debbie's cameo on Wise Guy?
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Oh
Me and my
yeah.
friend-
yeah.
Me and my
Someone
friend
to watch
Tara.
over me.
Me and my friend
She did
Tara in
great
high
tonight.
school used to on VCR. We watched it over and over. He's like, "Did he hurt you?" And she's like, "He made love to me." So we watched that line like over and over and over. All right, the album cover. What'd you guys think of the album cover for Curse? Jimmy? We forgot to talk about the album cover of Discipline last night. Shame on me as a host, because that was a good album cover.
Oh, we talked about it on the pre-show, right?
Okay, yeah. Well, oh well. Well, we talked about the promo pictures, how hot they were, so I guess that's close enough. All right, Curse of Blondie. I feel like it's very 2004. They're trying to look relevant. It's hip, it's hot, literally hot, because we kind of have like a band. This is the last album with Jimmy Destry, correct?
Correct.
Clem is there, Chris is back there. What do you guys think of this album cover?
I like it. I love the little flame that goes around. I love how Blondie's written in a flame, and they're all in red, and are in the background's all red, and then Debbie's got that red dress on in the front, and I think it's a great album cover. Not as good as Auto American or as iconic as Parallel Lines, but I think it's a really good album cover.
I feel like it does not scream legacy artist. Like it was pretty contemporary looking.
Yeah.
I loved Jim's background, the cover for Good Boys.
Yeah.
I thought that was hot.
Yeah.
So
Stepping on the mirror. I was like, that image right there is hot.
Here's my little collection. I have the standard CD, the dual disc version, then the Japanese with the bonus tracks. Then I have the 3 different CD singles of Good Boys with the different remixes. All
Now,
right.
I had heard that Chris was like, when he saw the writing that Rob Roth did, the fire writing, he was so impressed with it that he had said that he thinks that this was going to be the first album that they released without a band photo on it. And I think they did
Wanted this one?
Japan, right? And I think that they felt that it wasn't selling as well, so they went and did a new cover or a cover with the band. Because I know it was released. I think it was released in Japan first, wasn't it? And then
Okay.
it came out in Europe, and then the States. shortly after. So I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I do know that Chris loved that fire writing, and I think it's a great album cover. I think
I
it's a
do
lot of
too.
Well, I remember mine the band wasn't visible on the front. Like you had to turn it around. You had to turn the booklet around in the jewel case for my copy to see the full band picture. And the cover was, I think, the skywriting or the shoe on the broken mirror. Whatever it was, I remember thinking, why are they on the cover? And I remember changing it so that they were on the cover.
This
So I
Japanese
guess
one's it's a slip case, so it does have
Yeah,
the
I have
writing.
that one.
That's
Right.
what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm the fake fan of the group. I was 6 when the album came out, so I have it in this. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You know
have
what,
it. That's
though?
what's important.
I have that because it has some bonus tracks on No Exit that you can't get anywhere else. I don't think. I think there's some live bonus tracks that are only on that compilation, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. All right. Well, good to have a young Blondie fan with us. I was only one when this album came. I'm just kidding. Were we fucking fooling here? All right. Curse of Blondie. Are we ready for the track by track discussion?
Yes.
All right. We've heard Debbie rap in Rapture. We've gone through The Beast. Then we had Coolio on No Exit. Well, Debbie's back at the microphone and she's ready to rap again with a new metal kind of rock background. And before I state my opinion on this, I'd love to hear what the Phonogenic panel thinks of Shakedown.
I like it better than any new metal band song. I'll say that for sure. It's much better than anything Limp Bizkit ever did.
Is it the only pop song with the term body cavite in the hook?
Might be.
For Dirt Nap.
We're all wondering what's up in that body cavity.
Okay, this is what I'm going to say about Breakdown. There's parts of it that I'm like, I'm into this. And there's parts I'm like, oh, girl. So, like, throughout the song, I just can't settle on whether I'm loving it or hating it. But I do feel like she just rhymed any word. I'm going to do a freestyle rap in the style of Breakdown. I was on my ass. Then you got a glass. Then I saw a phone. And you picked a bone. Like, I just feel like she's just rhyming any old word. Once she gets to the pigtail in jail, that's where I check out. I'm like, oh, girl. But it's a killer chorus. Like, you go through that bullshit where she's talking, then shake down, baby. And I'm like, okay, I'm back in. Then it goes into that, like, major key, like, middle section, which throws you for a loop. Shakedown's a journey. I don't know. Someone bring me to earth here. What do you guys think?
I wasn't quite. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think I'm just the opposite than you, Jeremy. I actually don't like the chorus. I wish the chorus had gone harder than the rap part with the real hard guitar, and
right.
when it jumps into that at the beginning of the song, it's just oh my god, yeah, here we go. And then she goes through the rap, which I listened to it a billion times, and I mean I know I can look up the lyrics, but I still can't make out everything she's saying. I mean, if you look at the lyrics, it's long as hell. I mean, the rap parts, and and then when she goes to the part we were talking about where the key changes and it's a little more mellow, and you kind of got that piano going do 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 do, in the background and stuff. I think that's a great bridge there.
Me too. Yep.
So there's my
musically, it's fine. It's just that rap for me isn't cutting it.
I like the fact that it was this time. It was not about a monster or a creature or something. It's like they were trying to be more street and real, with this one. I felt, and I agree. I wish it had gone a little bit and stayed in the harder core kind of vibe to it. Because then the melodic part in the middle, to me, I was like, where are we now? Because it didn't match the opening of the song. So it was a lot in there. My favorite part is the way they manipulated Debbie's voice in the beginning, making it sound like a male radio announcer. That's my favorite part of it.
That's Debbie?
Is that her?
Mm-hmm.
Debbie. Yeah, that's Debbie.
Well, see, now I like the song.
I didn't know it.
What about the end?
Go back and re-listen.
But the end where she's like, can I kiss it? Can I lick it? I'm like, that's pretty hot.
That is a little. I was like, Debbie, but she done Dirty and Deep, so I mean, why would I wasn't surprised by that, by the kind of the more sexual, presence in this song.
I don't know. It's kind of hard because she's like kind of looking. I'm like, I'm gay, but maybe Debbie. I'll consider.
Jimmy. Go ahead, Mark.
No, but then she also has that part where she's like, and your pattern, your percussion, the way you get your rhythm going strong. Now it's my turn to take over. Yeah, and she's like blowing strong or whatever she's saying. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's talking about, yeah, got it. She's talking about
Is there anyone on this podcast that knows all the words of the song by heart? Mark, funny. You do, don't you?
What? It was funny. We were playing it because I've been playing it religiously. And then I always tell the song, my son is like, no. And this song, he does the same thing too. But I know almost all of them.
I love it.
But I remember reading an article when they were doing promo for this. And Debbie said she wrote the song because she wanted to get a song on The Sopranos. And there's all that talk about Jersey in it. And I think it's fun. I just don't know what she's trying to say because she starts off with I used to be in solitude. Now I like it, or I like it better in solitude. Now I'm up here in my Eiffel Tower. I think I could see the Pope. And then she's talking about his minute dick. And I'm like, why are you talking about the Pope's dick? I don't know what she's saying in it. And then it kind of goes into this, driving on the Jersey Turnpike and they're talking to someone in jail. And I'm like, what does any of this have to do with anything? But when the song comes on, I pretty much know all the words to it.
It's definitely in that Blondie fashion of being they never opened the album to this point really with something safe. You know what I mean? This is definitely challenging. Yeah. It's so challenging. I don't even know if I love it or hate it or both. I will say earlier this year, I drove way out in the middle of nowhere in New Jersey so I could take a picture in front of the Sopranos house. So let me add that to this podcast. And I should have played Shakedown when I was driving by. It's in this cul-de-sac up on this hill in some town. Has anyone else ever been to the Sopranos house? No. I guess I'm just
at the Sopranos house. I've seen the Bada Bing though.
Then from there, I drove up to Albany to take pictures at the abandoned Nexium headquarters. And then I drove by Squeaky Fromm's trailer where she lives now. So that was my journey through weird places in the north. All right, sorry. We're going off on a tangent, kind of like Debbie does in the song Shakedown. So we're on brand. We're on brand. Will you all give me a hand with this podcast?
You're talking too fast.
Oh, God. For sure, ambition, though. I think I'm going to have to give it a thumbs up. It's so... Some of the rap is so... I don't know.
There are enough elements. I would give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it. There are enough parts to it.
Now, is that high, Jimmy? Or both? Oh, yeah. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up and thumbs down.
Works on the fence.
That's me too.
Depends on the day. Depends on the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it Jimmy 1 or Jimmy 2 that likes the song?
No, both Jimmys.
Okay.
Both Jimmys thought this had its moments and it had its promise, but it didn't fulfill, I think, what it could have. So, I won't give it thumbs down, but
I agree with Jimmy. It's you finish listening to the song and it's almost like you missed something. There was something that just didn't take it all the way down the field.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past of Blondie, if you think about the first, second, third, fourth album, they used to always lead with the strongest song on the album, Ex Offender, Fan Man, Ringing on the Telephone, Dreaming, and then starting with Auto American, Europa. That was the beginning of now we're just gonna fuck with you.
Yeah.
The first song on every album is just gonna test you a little bit. Well, that's not true of Panic Up Girls because they had DJ. But yeah, very often they seem to like to test us with the first track now.
But I feel like D-Day's even kind of weird compared to Mother or What I Heard. You know what I mean? It definitely wasn't the safest.
Yeah, but it's not as obscure. At least it's driving and it's kind of catchy. And, it's not quite as experimental. But, that's what they like to do now.
Is this the longest discussion of Blondie song Shakedown that's ever taken place?
Yeah, probably.
Well, a daring opening track for their comeback. Do you think it would have landed different in 2002 than 2003 if the album would have come out quicker?
No,
No. Okay.
no, I don't think so.
All right. Any other
It is
thoughts?
what it is.
Any other thoughts on? Do people really extend pigtails to people in jail?
I thought that was kind of a reference of somebody sends their pigtail like they're getting ready to have you offed or something. You get a pig, like getting a horse's head in your bed. You get a pigtail in the mail.
Well, if I get a pigtail in the mail, I know it's from one of you guys.
Not for me.
All right, yeah, not from here anyway. Okay, Good Boys. This should have been on every greatest hit CD. I think it should have been a top 10 hit. I know in Britain it got pretty high in the charts. I don't know if it
And
was
I had a
top
good
10.
video.
Had a good video.
Which one? You know what? How they had to go back and put her with blonde hair because the first version she had the
Yep.
black wig on, and then they thought, no, we need to see blonde, and so
Okay.
they
I
went.
liked the wig. I thought the wig was fun. Let her be stylized. It's a movie, you know. It's
Right.
like it was a movie, sort of silent movie video. I had no problem with it.
This song checks all the boxes for me. What I like from a huge Blondie single. It has a great hook. Debbie's vocals sound great. It has that modern feel for the time, while still having the elements of classic Blondie. I like the lyrics. I like the guitar. Charlie's got something to say. Take it away, Charlie.
Um, we talk about how it didn't do well as a single in 2004, and it's just I'm thinking about that time in pop music. This really the only hit single of that year that I can think that even like has that kind of dance pop, like the Kylie kind of thing. The only really big hit that year that this is a maybe off base comparison, but it's Britney Spears' Toxic. Everything else in 2004 is it's very pop rock, it's very hip hop. That was the sound of the time. It's a great song. It didn't fit with everything, which is a shame. People should have opened their minds more. But I think the 99 climate was a bit kinder to Blondie to come back with Maria than the 2004 climate. That's unfortunate, but I think that has to do with the failure. I don't have anything else to say about the song itself. We've covered it all. It's a great song. It should have been a much bigger hit than it was. But
I do feel that it would have been better in 2002 though than 2004 because
I agree.
it's right alongside like the Can't Get You Out of My Heads, stuff like that. Okay, and the song was around then, right? It just got delayed from all the shit going on. Jimmy.
Yeah, I remember reading something where RuPaul said that Good Boys was Heart of Glass plus Call Me equals Good Boys. And I think that they actually used it. I think that they did an appearance on Drag Race or something, and may have used the song, if I'm recalling correctly. But I do remember that interesting thought of the combination of past hits producing a current song. I thought this song was absolutely brilliant. I remember the first time I heard it was Barry's car.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was, I mean, but unfortunately, it sets a high mark that the album then can no longer reach. I mean, you know, you hit Good Boys, and then the rest of the album is not what you've just heard. So I think that's kind of my only problem with it. It should have been a hit. You know, I did my part. I literally was calling local radio stations and I had a legitimate promo CD and I said, I will give it to you. I will drive to your studio, give you a legit promo CD if you will just play this on the freaking air. You know, it just, you know, radio just wasn't interested in, you know, artists of a different, you know, kind of time period, which is totally unjust and unfair.
it's interesting because Madonna kind of dipped in 2004 because American Life came out in 2003. She had remixed and revisited, and then she came back hard with Confessions 1 year later. I feel like Good Boys sat closer to Confessions than, stuff on American Life.
Well, Good Boys was produced by the same director or producer that produced Confessions, the video I'm referring to.
Oh,
That
okay.
was Jonas Ackerlund did those both.
Damn.
Yeah, and Jonas Ackerlund did the film that she was in. I think that's how they met. Which, ironically, the part was Madonna was supposed to play the part, and she canceled at the last minute, and they got Debbie to do it. And
Which movie?
so the film was called Spawn. A ton
okay.
of people read it. It's a trippy movie, and
I love that movie.
it's a great movie, though. I love it too. It's really
Is that
good.
the one where she
Debbie
kicks the guy's
Grayson.
ass in the store? She's like,
Mhm.
yeah, okay.
That's it. That's it.
She
She
like
beats
plays
the
the
guy up,
lesbian neighbor of the main character or something.
I know.
think. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's great.
Exactly.
It's a messed up movie, is what it is.
Yeah.
Well,
But he made a great video. He made a
Yeah.
great video for them. I mean, it's a really great. Good Boys is a great video. I mean, I want to talk about how the song works and why I love it. I mean, I think we can like lament the fact that it wasn't as big of a hit as it should have been. I think a lot of that just kind of comes from that time. I mean, they just never really celebrated, people of a certain age in pop music.
Right.
And Blondie, I mean, and this is a case where it doesn't matter what their age is. They made a great pop song,
Yeah.
and I think it had, great bass line, great drums. Everything that makes Blondie great was in that song. And there is, like I had said in the last podcast when No Exit came out, when Debbie had kind of rediscovered her voice, I even think this stage she got even a little bit stronger. And, the way she was kind of singing in her high falsetto, it is steady and it is smooth. And she is just gliding on top of those notes. And sometimes she doesn't always do that. I mean, it's part of the reason why I love her, but sometimes she misses, but she gets the emotion right. But on this one, this song in particular, she was just really, really precise. And I just really enjoy it. And I'm just going to kind of just try to remember the fact that it was just a really, really great song. I think the actual single and the remix in my eyes are just are equal. I don't know which one is better. Right. I do love the Giorgio Moroder mix, but I think I also love like the funkiness of the original album version. So that's what I like to think when I think of Good Boys.
All right, Jim.
So yeah, Mark mentioned the remixes. I just tapped into my playlist for Curse of Blondie on my iTunes, whatever, and just on that playlist, there are 17 different remixes of Good Boys. And that's not all the ones. I mean, there are promo ones I don't have. There are, these are the ones that I could actually get. And I agree with Mark. You don't, like the Giorgio Moroder, I can never pronounce his name. There's a single edit to that. It's like, sometimes I love that one. Sometimes I love the original version. Sometimes I love the Scissor Sisters remix of Good Boys. I mean, that is really good too. I think that's the one that made the, what was it? The Sound and Vision greatest hits.
I think it was Blow Up.
Yep.
Wasn't that Blow Up one?
There's two. Yeah. Blow Up did one too. And that's a good mix as well. And a Blow Up, if you guys don't know, is the guy from, he was originally in Man to Man. And Debbie did some songs did a song with Man to Man, and then she did a song. He's formed a new group called Blow Up, and she did a song on that. So that's kind of where that connection is. But yeah, the remixes are just awesome, and I just could not believe the volume of remixes and the people that were getting to remix it. I mean, again, another reason why that song should not have been as much of, I hate to use this word, as much of a flop as it was, because I mean, you had so much power pushed into it. So,
and even like I felt like even in the gay clubs, it should have been bigger. Because some of my faves may not have been top 40, but I did not hear the song in the clubs nearly enough either. Because like, what year did that Cher song come out? Not Believe, but the album after, Song for the Lonely, wasn't that
2002?
Right.
yeah.
So if they could play the fuck out of Song for the Lonely, there's no reason we couldn't have got Good Boys just as much, in my opinion.
Well, I think she attributed that song to in memory of the 2011, the people that died in 2011. Like if you watch the video, it shows like the building of buildings in New York and the coming down of buildings in New York, and it's kind of an interesting video. I don't know if that was the original intent when she
Okay.
recorded that song and those lyrics,
She
but that was kind of the promotion she was using when that song came out.
Sorry, I'm a Cher junkie. She's my number one of them all.
All right, so you're the expert.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. That was not the intent when they recorded it. The song was recorded before 9/11, but Cher even said took on another meaning
Okay.
afterwards. And
I love
it
the
was,
song. I do love that
yeah.
song.
And the album Living Proof was released in Europe before it was in the US, and it had a different lead single in Europe. It was The Music's No Good Without You there. But in the US, it was Song for the Lonely in the winter of 2002. So by then, yes, they did a 9/11 themed video, but she doesn't even do the song live very often because it reminds her of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that does. I've seen her 7 times, never heard Song for the Lonely once.
And Charlie, I think the European version of that album had a different final track on it than the American version.
Yes, it does. Do You Take It All? Beautiful, beautiful song. But I like the one on the US version too. So, but enough about Living Proof. That's
Yeah.
a different
That's a
discussion.
different podcast. All right. Well, moving on. Any other thoughts on Good Boys? Do we all agree it's a thumbs up? All right. We are moving on. Undone. This is another song. Like, it starts off, I'm like, okay, we have a dance number. Then it turns rock. Then it gets kind of chimey guitars. There's a lot going on here. There's kind of like a la 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 la, like a little bit of that going on. I like this song though. I think it's a good track 3. A lot of these songs I don't have tons to talk about, so I'm just gonna kind of play host. Does anyone have an opinion on this song?
Yeah, I
I
think
really like this one.
Yeah. Hey,
I mean,
who
I
wrote
just
it?
think-
Who
Yeah,
wrote
I'm
that
not sure
song?
who wrote it.
Okay.
It's somebody outside the band, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Like
was somebody.
from Weezer or something.
Yeah. I think she wrote the lyrics, and I think somebody else, from like Weezer, I think wrote the music.
You know what
I
I
like
forgot
it.
to say? If you guys want to use the raise hands things, I'll call on people in order. I forgot to say that when I started the podcast. That way we won't all triple over each other.
I forgot to put mine down.
That's all good. Jim, so I have Jim. Oh, Jim, your hands is down. Okay, Charlie, you're up.
Yeah, I'm looking up right now who co-wrote the. Oh, I don't know if it's not the original Weezer band members. I know that much. If it is them, it's not Blue Album OG Weezer. But yeah, I like that you mentioned that it was a good track 3. I think that's a good track number for a Blondie album. I've noticed. I mean, this isn't like Union City Blue or Picture This or even Maria, but it's a good rock song that I expect from Blondie, and it's in a good place on the album to keep the energy going of the first 2 tracks, and that's important at this spot in the album.
Didn't Barry say that Chris said that the 3rd track's the most important track on the album? Is that correct? And
Yeah.
That's what he said.
it did, after Good Boys, if the 3rd song sucked, I would have probably checked out. So this did keep me engaged. Okay, Jim, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think this was actually set to be the second single off of Curse of Blondie. There's actually a promo out there somewhere, which I would love to get because there's an instrumental version of Undone, and then either the album version or it might be a radio edit. I don't know, but but yeah, I mean, I think this song is really, really good. The only part I don't like is the la 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 la, and then like you're in the middle of the song and all of a sudden you go back to the la la la's again, and it's like no, don't do that. Go back into the verse. That part of the song is the only thing I don't like about it. The rest of the song is just wow. Again, just power Blondie. I mean, it's a great song.
All right, Jimmy, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think that this one gave you a little hope after Good Boys. I mean, I do think I like the la-las in the beginning of the song because it harkened back again to a kind of a Blondie feeling for me. I had hard time understanding some of the phrasing, the night nurse. It took me a while to get what what she was saying, that night nurse. But I did think I think it was a solid track, for Blondie, and I wholeheartedly approve of this one. So had neither Jimmy had issues with Undone.
All right, Scott.
It just dawned on me when you were saying that the La La's harken back to Blondie, and I was thinking, do they? And then I realized, la 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 la. So they do.
Wow.
That's my
You went
statement.
deep.
See, I was thinking more like Kylie Minogue again, like la 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 la. I like the Blondie comparison better though. Any other thoughts on this song? I give it a thumbs up.
Me too.
All right. Goldenrod. A little heavier rock, reminds me of God, there's a couple, I know you guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but there's a couple seconds of like, man, there's a tiny bit of Sonic Youth in there, but like the really fuzzy guitars. Mark, start this one off. Then we'll go to Scott.
I can remember that same concert I was talking about, that when they were co-headlining with the B-52s, and they were sampling a lot of the new songs, which we hadn't heard, and they kind of got into like the last 3/4 of their set where they kind of started doing a lot of classic like punk rock songs. They were doing, I remember they did I think Havana Affair. They were doing the Ramones, and they were doing Television and See No Evil. And this song was mixed in the middle of it. And I remember I was with the person I was dating at the time, and they had no background in any of that, like, classic punk music. So everything was like, what song is this? And I'm like, oh, that's the Ramones. What song is this? I'm like, oh, that's Television. And he's like, what song is this? I'm like, I don't know, but it's fucking good. And it fit right in with classic punk. And that's what I think of when I hear this song. I just think it has a great classic, old school New York kind of sound to it. Not even old school New York, just like old school punkish kind of sound. A lot of the sound of the bands that I really love. And I just think it's a great song. I think it has a great vocal, and the band just sound really, really great. I love this more straightforward rock sound on this album from them. So yeah, that's kind of my memory of this song. It's just a really good song.
Do you know what else I thought I had little bits of shades of? And don't crucify me, y'all, but I thought I could hear a little Garbage in there. So I thought it was cool. They ended up touring together later on.
A couple times.
Yeah. Scott.
I would just like to posit the theory that lyrically this song might be about Madonna. Because in the song she's saying, what's this pretty flower I see? It's tall and blonde. It's waving at me. Mother says it's just a weed. Goldenrod. Another blonde, not from the city, gave me an allergy. Madonna sort of sprouted up when Debbie was on break, and for all practical purposes, replaced her in the market for a time. And she must have been, as gracious as Debbie is about it when she's being interviewed, she must have privately felt like, who is this weed that grew up in my place that everyone is embracing, and I'm chopped liver suddenly, So I really wonder if that's partially what inspired the lyric.
You guys, we should have made Rockbird a bigger hit.
I love Rockbird. Yeah, it's such a strong album.
I love it too. All right, Jimmy.
Yeah, for me, like Bitchy Jimmy said it wanted to rock, but it didn't quite get there. But when I listened to it in the surround sound, I really paid attention to the lyrics, and exactly echoing what Scott said. They really are quite intelligent lyrics and tell a bit of a story in a very interesting way. And the way this is mixed in surround sound, it sounds, the rock hits you harder. And Debbie's vocals are so great. They keep build rising as the song goes on. And so non-bitchy Jimmy was like, this track is really, really good. It's unfortunate though that it is almost disposable in the sense of I think a lot of the songs on this album, after you hear them, you don't always really remember them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying that from my experience.
I'm going to struggle later in this podcast. I'll tell you that much.
Because it's like, each of the beat, like Union City Blue, you hear
You
that
know every
one,
song.
you hear that once and it is with you. A lot of the songs on this album, though, although I might like them while I'm intentionally listening to them, they don't necessarily stick with me later as much. But Goldenrod, I love what Scott said about the lyrics. When I actually paid attention, I was like, yeah, this is a solidly written track.
The other thing that hooked me about the song is I almost feel like it has a hint of like melancholy in it. Like there's definitely a little bit of, emotion in there. And that gets me every time. And even like when you think of like Union City Blue or some of those songs that did have a rock kind of feel, like the Blondie and Debbie always do kind of infuse something just a little deeper. And I heard that in this song. Jim.
I was just gonna bounce off Scott's comment. I am not gonna listen to that song the same again now that you've made the Madonna reference, because I really never thought about that. I mean, I'm kind of a literal person, so I mean, I know she's speaking metaphorically, but I'm sitting here seeing, goldenrod on the side of the road blowing in the breeze, and I know it's all a metaphor, but it's I don't know, goldenrod is kind of pretty when you look at it. It is a weed, but it is kind of pretty. I mean, but I'm going to definitely be hearing a different song next time I hear it.
What if Madonna, Debbie, and Lady Gaga did a trio album together? Like Dolly Parton. Okay, never mind. That's not going to happen. All right. Any other thoughts on Goldenrod? Thumbs up for me. You know what? When we approach these albums, the same thing happened with Janet Jackson. I'm like, oh, once we get to know Exit and Curse of Blondie, I don't like those. But like, there was a lot to discover here. Like, and I listened to this more than I realized at the time. Like when I was playing this album, I'm like, oh, I remember all these. I listened to it more than I thought I did. So next we have Rules for a Living. This is a Jimmy Destry song, I believe. A little bit more mid-tempo. What do you guys think of this one?
Which Jimmy?
Destry, didn't he?
No, I mean, which Jimmy do you want to hear from on this one?
Daniel has just joined us. Hello, sir.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so late. I've been recording. I've been like in a really just crazy thing, and I that's why I didn't even respond to any of the messages, because I wasn't sure if I could come or not.
Of course. You're always welcome. And I know you're doing an album of like B-sides and demos and stuff. So
actually, I'm going to be doing a song a day for the entire year coming up. So I've been recording like a crazy person. I've recorded like 60 songs. I mean, they're not all going to be good. Some of them are going to be really bad, and some of them are going to be really short, and some of them are going to be acoustic, and then some of them are like fully produced.
And that sounds exactly like the Curse of Blondie, what we're talking about. So it's kind of
it is a little
brand.
Nuts. So I'm sure you guys have already talked about like a lot of the songs.
No, we're only on track 5. We just got onto track 5.
So you already because you and I'm sorry to I'll shut up in a second, but you already talked about like one of my favorite Blondie songs is on this album. 2 of them actually, but one of them we haven't gotten to yet. But Good Boys is literally like,
we talked about that for a long time. So add your thoughts.
So I don't know if other people liked it, but
we all loved it.
Okay, it's like literally always on, and I don't listen to this album that much because there's a lot of tracks on this album that I'm like, they're interesting.
That's a word, yeah.
They're interesting.
Shake down, baby.
Yeah, there's like some, and then like there's some more that we'll talk about, but then there's but Good Boys, actually, it's like I listen to that song all the time. It's like always on my playlist at the gym, and it's I call it like if Blondie and Kylie Minogue like had a baby, like That's what it would be. And I actually wish that more of the songs had that type, because there's a lot of other songs on this album that if it had that really driving, like just embrace the fact that it could be a really awesome dance album. Like, I think that would have been a really cool direction for them to go, because we got a taste of it with that. And then you kind of want to hear more of that.
That's exactly what Jimmy said. He's like, well, we reached a really high point with Good Boys and we kind of never get there again.
So I'm not the only person. All right.
And since let's catch up. There's something I wanted to ask before, and then we'll go back to track 5. If you guys had to pick No Exit or Shakedown, if you had to pick.
No Exit.
Yeah, No Exit.
No Exit?
I guess, yeah.
All right, I'm just curious.
No Exit.
Yeah.
I wanted
Reluctantly.
All right. Excuse me. Rules for a Living. You know what? I listened to this album like 10 times, and the song is refresh my memory, you guys. I know it's a mid-tempo.
It's kind of like, it has like a lot of really beautiful imagery about, like, olden times, kind of like a lot of like B-52's Mesopotamia type of imagery. I don't know if this song's about reincarnation. I don't
What's
know.
the hook of the chorus, you guys? Does anyone mind?
There is none.
There's
No hook.
I've been this way before.
Yeah.
Yep, I got it.
That's right, Scott.
I liked it. I like the song. Okay, we have Mark with his hand up, then we have Charlie.
Yeah, I like this song a lot. It actually kind of reminded me when I heard it. It came out around the same time. I think reminded me of that song from Hedwig, Origins of Love. Just like this story of in like another time, and and the gods and stuff like that. So I found it very, very very charming, and I actually I find it one of my, once again, it's a Jimmy Destry song, so I really like it. I actually like the chorus that I've come the way again. I think it's a lot of fun. I also kind of just like that it's just I don't usually like Blondie's mid-tempo stuff, but I kind of like that they kind of stripped it down and left it kind of sparse and kind of sparingly, and I find it very infectious, and it's one of the songs that I'm quite fond of on this album.
I thought it was a nice, now that I remember what song it was, I apologize. It's a nice come down after the rock of the previous song. So when I was, listening to the album, it really flows nice. Okay, Charlie and then Jimmy.
I'm going to be the Debbie Downer here. I have to agree. It has not much of a hook to it. I think it's good. It's well placed in the album, and I appreciate it for that. I think it was necessary after the first 4 songs to have something a bit more mid-tempo, slower a bit, but other than, No Hook, not the most memorable song to me. Not bad, but not a highlight either.
All right, we have Jimmy and then Jim.
Bitchy Jimmy wrote for Rules for Living. Rule number 1: write better songs.
Daniel, just to catch you up, there's 2 different Jimmys. Like, he listened to the album in one mood and hated it.
Well, and then when I more intentionally listened to it, I could appreciate the lyrics and the melodic nature of the song. So, yeah, Bitchy Jimmy was not a big fan, but when I gave it space and time, on its own, I think the lyrics are quite interesting.
All right, Jim.
I'm going to disagree with Charlie about the no hook or whatever. I mean, there's the pre-chorus there that, sometimes your eyes remind me, don't know why. And then that builds into the chorus. I think that's the hook right there. And this song, I like this song. I like this song a lot. And this is one that I do put on, like if I'm making a playlist of just a mix of songs. This one and Good Boys usually gets on that playlist, but this one just has it's got there's a lyric in it that just it hits me, and I really can't explain why, and it always has since the time I started listening to this album when I got the Japanese version or whatever in 2003. But the lines where she says, "And the measurement of time were the ending seasons," I can't even explain. There just seems to be a lot of power in those 2 lines right there, and That's the only way I can explain it. It's every time I hear this song and I hear those two lines, it's like, wow, yeah, that's true. That's right. And then you think back on your life, and you're like, okay, well, this happened here and this happened here. And I think this is a great song. I do agree with most of you that this album kind of misses the spot in a lot of places, but I think this song is one of the more powerful ones.
All right, Scott.
I just wanted to add that I think Jimmy Destry has said that he thinks this is maybe the best song he ever wrote. Which, when you think of all the great songs that Jimmy Destry has written, that's saying a lot, that he feels so strongly about this song. And I agree. It's one of my favorites on the record. I don't know why, that I feel like it could almost be like an unreleased track from Each of the Beat. It's got something about it that sounds like earlier Blondie to me. And it's just one of their moody songs. It's a mood piece. It doesn't sound like a hit single. It sounds like an album track, but an album track that you would love to just sit there on a Sunday and get stoned with your coffee in the dark, listening to In Another Life. Like, I love it. I think it's really good. That's all.
All right. Any other thoughts on this song before we continue forward? I'm still going to give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, me too.
I dogged this album, but I'm giving it one thumbs up after another. We have a Sideways.
We have the up and down.
Yeah, Jimmy, your left hand is bitchy Jimmy. Your right hand is...
Yeah.
Right. Next, background melody. The Only One. This song kind of has a... Was it a little... kind of the... Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I'm going already? Okay.
Yeah. Wasn't it a little reggae-ish, if I remember right?
It was kind of reggae-ish. And
Yep.
I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, is they trying to do like a little Tide kind of, Tide is High kind of riff on it. But I also remember at the time there was a song by Shaggy called Strength of a Woman. And it had a very similar kind of like synthesizer kind of like reggae beat where it, and it had like, it didn't sound like, like acoustic instruments. It sounded very digital or very synthesized. And I like that song too. I think the song is fun. I think it's kind of sounds a little incomplete to me. It sounds like there's great potential in the song, but there's parts of it that when I hear it, I just absolutely love it. Like I love when they have that dun 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 dun. When they do that whole little like interlude after the first chorus or first verse. I kind of like her vocal kind of she's kind of singing it in that like baby girl voice, like, baby doll voice. And I mean, it's a song about, I believe the story goes is that she met a fan who told her that she was created because her parents were like fucking to Blondie songs. And that's how she was conceived. So, and so Baby, When They Made You, I was the background melody. So, it's kind of cheeky. It's kind of cute. But like I said, there's parts of it that I feel almost sound a little unfinished, but I still find it like very, very charming. And I do kind of gravitate towards this song when I listen to this album.
I kind of struggled with this song because it kind of did the same thing for me that Shakedown did, where it just has, and parts of this album suffer this for me, just bad rhyme. Like, the only one that cares, the one that dares, you cry, you try. Like, I just feel like, this is Debbie Harry, man. Like, I feel like we can do better than cry and try, baby. Like, you gave me Shayla, girl. You gave me Shayla. All right. We got Charlie and then Jimmy.
I thought of something when Mark mentioned the Shaggy, because that there was some definite, even though Blondie did it long before with Tide is High, there was definitely quite a bit of there was definitely some like reggae dancehall stuff in pop music in general in 2003. Like this, they're like the first thing I think of is No Doubt's Rock Steady. But so because of that, I kind of think it is of its time in that way. but I mean, Blondie did originate it in some ways, like definitely influenced other bands doing it. But yeah, I think it's a quirky song, and I'm happy to have a quirky song on a Blondie album like this one. So that's it's is it the best song I've ever heard? No, but I appreciate it.
I can agree with all that, Charlie, actually. All right, Jimmy.
Yeah. First, Jimmy basically said that it belongs in the background. And that I was not a fan of the almost childish vocals. However, again, when you listen in surround sound, this is mixed amazingly well, and it just hits you differently. So while initially I really just kind of thought this is a write-off song, where for me, where I just, it was in the background. Given it some more attentive listening, I could appreciate it a lot more.
The more I listen to this album, the less I wanted to skip any song. Like, I'm like, oh, I'll let this one play. So, it's a grower, not a shower. All right. Any other thoughts on background melody?
I think it's kind of reminds me of a Nickelodeon kids
Okay.
theme song. I like it. I think it's cool. It's not my favorite song on the album, but I agree with what had been said about it being very much of the time, and there was a lot of that style of music that was in the air then, so it makes sense. I also agree. Somebody said that it sounded a little unfinished. I agree with that as well.
All right, Scott, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just wanted to add that around this time in like Blondie's trajectory, Debbie's voice starts to change a little bit in her upper register, where it's not as, when she's straining to hit high notes, it doesn't sound like it used to when like she was younger and she'd sing at the top of her register. So that baby voice gets on my nerves because it sounds like, it just, I wish she'd either go falsetto or take it down a key, so, and this is one of those songs that I feel like is in that range. So it gets in the way of my enjoyment of certain songs when she sings up in that range and it sounds like she's straining a little bit. And outside of that, I feel like this whole album would have been so solid and tight if they had just taken like 4 or 5 songs off of it. That's the only thing wrong with it, is there's too much. And it's almost like if they had trimmed the fat. And this is one of those songs, it's not bad, but maybe it's like a Susie and Jeffrey where it's like, give it to me on a B-side. Give it to me somewhere, but
put it on those Good Boys. Put it on the Good Boys remix single as the
something. Yeah. So that's my thought.
So you want her to sound? It's okay if she sounds like Baby, but not Baby Jane.
Blanche.
You know what? I'm still gonna give it a fucking thumbs up, though. Whatever. I liked it.
I'll give it a sideways.
All right. Next, Magic. Don't even try. I don't have my glasses. What's this word here? It's
it's like some kind of Asian, like Japanese or something.
We're not going to try.
Anger the culture by trying to pronounce it. So.
Yeah, white boy from Western New York living in Tampa. Let's just go with the title Magic. I saw the songwriting credits. Debbie put lyrics to a traditional melody. It kind of has a kind of groovy thing going on. Daniel, did you start this one off?
The guitars remind me a little of Shayla. I actually listened to this album again today, and that's the thing that jumped out at me. Like it's kind of like this Asian thing, but then with like these Shayla type of guitars. I do love the guitars in this song.
I think it's Debbie stretching out, which can be good or bad.
Odd, though. It's an odd song.
It's an odd song. Okay.
I like it. The thing is, I actually think it's kind of a train wreck, but I actually really like this song.
Right next to Shanti Shanti off of Ray of Light, right?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a better song. Sorry, Shanti's.
I do love Shanti. All right, Jimmy, and then Mark.
Yeah, if it's magic, can it make itself disappear? Is my thought. But again, listening to it, I pick up on what Daniel said about the guitar pieces of the Shayla in there. I think
Jimmy,
it is a bit of a mess.
I'm loving you on this podcast, Jimmy.
I just wrote what I thought. But you know, there are elements to it that I like. And the surround mix is in this one again is incredible. So, you know, listening to it in 2-speaker stereo to me just did not work. But when you have the guitars sound kind of chiming around you, it just is a completely different feeling.
It was magic.
Right.
All right, Mark, you're next.
Actually, I just forgot what I was going to say. Much like the song, I've forgotten it already.
Oh no!
But no, actually, I was going to agree with Daniel. I really love the guitars in it, and I like the song very much just for its the balls that they had the nerve to do it. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, and I like I've said, I've always liked Blondie when they were a little bit weird. But for the most part, this song is I usually if I can hit the button, I will skip it.
I saw that Rolling Stone gave the album 2 stars, and maybe Stereo Gum gave it 2 stars. So it seems like it was not critically received very well at the time. But we are giving an assessment 20 years later. So I feel like time has actually been kind of kind to some of this album.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, any other thoughts on Magic? I'll you know what? I'll give it a thumbs up. I didn't skip it. Thumbs up. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just being too nice. All right. Well, you know what? My niceness is about to end with end to end because I'm like, what the hell is this? Knock on Wood meets Call Me in 2004 bullshit. And then there was this artist who had an album and she kept rhyming every word. Like she had like 4 songs on her album where she kept rhyming loving cup with like the word up on different songs. And that was like the first line in the song. So it triggered me to that. So, Charlie, save this podcast because I have nothing to say.
So actually, this album, along with No Exit, was very recently quietly added to Spotify and Apple Music. And weirdly enough, this is on Spotify. This is the most streamed song on the album. It has close to 250,000 streams. No other song has 6 digits, and I was just wondering, like, if it was like some secret fan favorite that I didn't know or something, because I'm a little confused by that, because I think it has very cool elements to it, but I don't think they add up to make a very cohesive, great song, and I'm just really not understanding how this got more streams than the single from the album. I'm very confused, and it starred on Apple Music too as a top track, so little baffled there. I don't know if anybody can clear that up for me. But
I walked by Chris Stein's apartment in New York and he had it on a loop. I'm just kidding. Okay, Jimmy and then Daniel.
First off, my impression was that's what I want to hear the end. And I said that it plods along. However, when I thought the lyrics are really interesting, and then I thought, is this about fame? You know, the end of the end? Is it kind of like almost about Blondie's ending and let's end that end of Blondie by being, current now. I mean, now I may have been in an enhanced state when
Jimmy,
I was
that was some
listening.
heavy ganj there. You must have
I mean, so I may have been in an enhanced state when I listened to it, but I was like really reading into these lyrics a lot. And I thought Debbie's vocals were like an A+ on the song. I think the song still has problems. However, lyrically, I really would kind of want to know what the actual, intention of the lyrics are. But those are my thoughts.
To me, it kind of just sounded kind of unfinished. Like they just rolled the track. She went in and did one take on the vocal. There's not really any harmonies. There's just a woo in the background vocals, but it just seemed a little demo-ish to me. All right, we have Daniel and then Mark.
Well, this song actually encapsulates my problem with the album. And, because I know we talked about it with Good Boys. This song, if it was produced like a dance song and not like this, like right now it has kind of like a Steve Miller Band Moonlight Serenade type of like vibe to it, especially with the chord progression, it's like the same sort of chord progression and it is kind of plotting, but it's like if it had like more of that, like kind of more like if they had just kind of embraced being like more of like I keep going back to like the Kylie Minogue vibe. And I know like that's not what they're aspiring to do, but they've done that type of music like they've done dance music, like the Atomic vibe and everything. Right. And so like and if by chance but like boom dun, 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 like if they just had like it made it like into a dance floor anthem type of thing, it could be actually a really cool song. Instead it's like what it is. And I agree. I think I love the lyrics. I actually love the tune of the song. And when I hear it, I always hear it produced totally different. And I hear a lot of songs on this album that way.
Hot take, I could hear a gold frap kind of arrangement.
Yeah, like something kind of like that, like more like, like because I could totally picture it being like remixed like as like a dance floor anthem.
Because no one wanted this 1981 bullshit in 2003. Like I know I didn't.
I like that. Like I like the night. It's like, but it's like
those toms.
If they were gonna really do like the old, like not the old blind, but like then really do it. Like I feel like their attempts at like that part of their genre are like very half-hearted on this album a lot of times. Not all the time, but like some of the times. So, and this song is kind of an example of that. Although I don't hate the song, and I actually do think that her vocals are really good on it. So
I will say, like, as I listened to it in my car, like the first time I heard it, I'm like, oh God, this is terrible. But then like today, I'm like, I didn't skip it. So, okay, Mark.
Yeah, it's fun. I can remember when it first came out, I kind of liked it a lot, and it was funny. And then as I was re-listening to the album for the podcast, I was listening to it and I'm going, I don't like this song at all. And when you had said like I heard a lot of like a Call Me kind of like knockoff in it, and I was like, oh, had they had taken a more electronic take with this, like Daniel said, I would have been a lot happier with it. And then I was brought back. I remember shortly after this album came out, the band did it was some concert. The only reason why I watched it was because Blondie was on it. It was on Lifetime. It was called Women Aloud, and I guess they had in their contract that they had to do a new song, and I believe they chose this song, and I was completely happy with the progression of the concert and the way it was going. And then they played this song and I felt like it came to a screeching halt. I was just like, oh, they could have, out of all the songs they picked end to end. But there are parts of it, like I said, I was initially attracted to it very much. And I'll agree with what a few other people said. I think her vocal is very good on it. And I really do love when she kind of riffs at the end. And I love when she kind of just has a little more fun with it. So it's like one of those songs, what could have been, it just, You know, because there's a good song in there.
Yeah, I remember the
My
last
Mauricio brain
podcast.
doesn't like it.
The last podcast, someone was talking about how on an award show they could have done Maria, but they did No Exit. So I feel like they like to pull out these songs. Can you imagine if they would have done like Good Boys? Like Good Boys is a smash.
Yeah.
All right, Jim.
The No Exit performance, I think that was on the American Music Awards, and they brought out all these rappers to do the song with them, and that was about the same time there was a remix of No Exit that came out. It was called the Loud All Stars remix or something like that, and it was all these rappers that were kind of up and coming and somewhat popular that all came in and just like did their own lyrics over the No Exit instrumental, and then Debbie's chorus about who's going to cry. But as far as this one end to end, I mean, I'm pretty much going to agree with everybody. It's kind of it's one of those ones that I can take or leave. I definitely heard "Call Me" in it, and I'm going to agree with Daniel that a lot of these songs, had it taken more of an electronic or EDM vibe to it or something, it would have probably played a little better. And we know Blondie doesn't do that. We know Blondie likes to add 15 genres in one album because that's just the way they are. But it'd be interesting to see what they could do with just that concept instead of focusing on things that are fresh or might be coming up or that they're interested in. Pick a genre and just do an album in that genre, and let's see how it turns out. And I really feel like that if Blondie had done or will do, who knows, more of a dance type album, I think it really would be good. I mean, look how popular Debbie's solo remixes and stuff are. I mean, even the stuff she's done with other people like Moby and Groove Thing, and they become she tops the dance charts with those songs. So who knows?
What was the song from Two Times Blue? That was the song, right? From Necessary.
Yes.
I love that song.
That's a great song. The remixes of that are awesome.
Yeah.
And I hope we do a Debbie Harry podcast because
we will.
I love that.
Yeah. I love her solo albums. All right. Any other thoughts? I'm sorry. This one's getting a thumbs down. And I feel like the woo like just pushes me over the edge. Any other votes? Thumbs down. Oh, Scott, did you want to add anything?
I think you're all crazy. You're all wrong. I like this song. I mean, I don't think it's the best song on the album, but if you stack it up next to Desire Brings Me Back, Diamond Bridge, Hello Joe, Magic, Shakedown, it's better than all of those. I mean, I like the galloping rhythm. That to me is always catchy. I like the lyrics. Let's put an end to the end and just keep it going. I don't get. You're all insane.
I'm just not a fan of that kind of
thumbs up.
I actually like this song too. I just want it to be produced differently.
Yeah. That's fair.
Is anybody a Donna Summer, like a big Donna Summer fan here or no?
Yeah,
I like her.
That's great. Yeah.
She had that song "Leave Me Alone" on "I'm a Rainbow," and it reminded me of the beat of that one. Leave me alone. All right, moving onward. Okay. Hello, Joe. All right, we're talking about Roosters. It's about Joey Ramone, right? She did this in the concert. This is one of those songs I remember. It's just like such a weird song that you hear it once and I never forgot it. So I just feel like there's those weird Blondie songs.
I always thought she was saying "Let's Wake the Hostess."
I wrote that. That is written right here.
That's what I thought she was saying for the longest time. I was like, "Let's wake the hostess." Like, what's she talking about?
What is she saying?
Why does she want to wake the roosters?
Because they're staying up all night. They're partying.
Yeah.
They're partying all night or connecting all night. This song does have cool. I like this song. I think it's weird. It's a weird Blondie song. Jimmy.
Joe, if you're there, please send better songs.
Oh no. Oh,
I just felt like this one went nowhere to me.
you didn't
And
say goodbye, Joe?
I love that Daniel said exactly what I wrote, that Rooster sounds like she's saying hostess. And for the longest time, I was so confused by that, about where are we waking the hostess? Where are they? But I'm not sure I have anything really great to even redeem myself after those incredibly rude comments. But for me, this song does not really do well. I love that it is a tribute to someone, but Debbie, if you ever do a tribute to me, let's not use this song as a basis.
Okay, am I the only one that likes this song here? I didn't even like
Yes.
the Hunter. Okay, so Mark.
I don't hate the song. I remember hearing like when they were getting ready, when the album was getting ready to come out, and I heard that there was a Joey Ramone tribute on it. And I was so excited because, over the years I've seen, I remember the first time I saw Debbie perform at a benefit, an AIDS benefit in New York City in the Beacon Theater. And for her encore, the Ramones came out with her and they did Go Little Camaro Go and a whole bunch of other Ramones songs. And I was just like blown away. And I think Debbie's voice lends herself very well to Ramones like songs. So I was expecting something in that vein. And then when I kind of get this, that little intro to it and, the acoustic guitar, I was kind of like, what the fuck, and, but I don't hate it, and I've grown to like it more over the years. I think some of the lyrics are kind of tender, and knowing that they're a tribute to Joey, and I know that they had a very good relationship over the years. So I've grown to like it more, but is it the tribute that I wanted? No.
I think it's the Rooster that does it for me, because some of these songs kind of glide by and I just can't remember them. But I always remember the Rooster. Like it's stuck in my mind for better or worse. Okay, Jim.
So I can take or leave this song, but I will be giving it a thumbs up because I think, it's nice that it's about Joey Ramone, and it kind of has an interesting kind of Blondie, wacky vibe to it. But has anybody else noticed the number of times, and I think it's this song as well, but the number of times they use kind of a reversed guitar sound on this album? I mean, there's got to be at least 3 tracks, maybe 4 that use that. I think Magic was another one that they used kind of a reverse, guitar sound on it. And it's like, wow, somebody really liked that effect on this album. And it happened quite a bit.
Wasn't the record buyers.
You're right.
I like that the surround sound couldn't even save this song from. I like the acoustic guitars. I thought it was a breath of fresh air.
I didn't say I didn't like them. I'm just saying they used that effect quite a bit on this album.
How the tables have turned on this podcast. I sat through the beast, and you guys don't like Hello, Joe. What's going on here? I'm just teasing.
I'm glad that you brought up the backwards guitars. Actually, that's one of my favorite parts of Shakedown is that it almost sounds like a backwards acoustic guitar, which is so weird because it's like you always hear like a backwards electric guitar, but on Shakedown you actually hear a guitar that sounds very hypnotic. I don't know who, and I was not here when you guys. I do have to say I don't know who that character is in Shakedown.
The one with the pigtail in jail.
It's very bizarre. Like it's kind of like weird to hear her like singing like that, but it's kind of like disturbs me a little bit. But then it has
that's basically what we all said, Daniel. You're right on.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's just like it's like she has like Debbie Harry has Tourette syndrome. But then there's that beautiful backwards acoustic guitar in the middle of it, which is one of the coolest sounding things in a Blondie song. So
well. Do we have any other thoughts on Hello, Joe, before we say goodbye to Joe? I give it a thumbs up.
I give it a thumbs up. I like it. It's interesting.
Well, Debbie, if you're watching, I liked it. Okay. Anyway, after I just bashed end to end, though. All right.
I wonder if they watch this. I wonder if anybody watches this from the band.
I would. If
That'd be-
someone did talk about my albums for even 2
That'd be
minutes, I'd
cool.
watch it. Okay, The Tingler. All right. This is a part of the album where I started feeling like I was listening to a Debbie solo album. Like, for me, there's just kind of a difference between Debbie solo and Blondie. I don't know what it is, but Tingler to me sounded more like something from Deprivation than from a Blondie album. And once again, we get that rhyming. Like, I don't remember what the words are, but it was, well, Charlie.
Who does?
Yeah, Charlie.
Oh, me. Okay. So it's funny you say this sounds like a Debbie solo song because I mean this title, the not the sound itself, but the title is a Hunter title. I feel like this title fits in with like songs, the titles of the songs from that album. If that makes sense. Like, I don't know, the title gives me that vibe. The song itself, I mean, it's unique. I'll give it that. I do feel like there's sounds that have been done elsewhere better.
On Deprivation.
Yeah, I don't.
I remember making me itch, making me twitch.
It's another song that I think would sound better if it was. I mean, it does have a dance vibe, but even more of a dance vibe.
Ooh, I feel like the Tingler just took the steam out of this podcast.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing too much tingling.
This whole part of the album is for me like a slump. The whole end.
Jimmy, what were you thinking when you were listening? Do we have two Jimmys
if
or
it's
one?
called if it's called the Tingler, well, I'm not excited. Sorry. The only thing I have, it fits in with Blondie's kind of B movie appreciation for B movies because it is a take on like a Vincent Price movie or something. So I could understand their appreciation of it, but I did not get an appreciation of my own for this, really. So for me, this one is another one that I just really didn't need in my life.
Jimmy,
Okay.
it's interesting you say something about a Vincent Price movie because I was just looking at the lyrics here and it says he leaves no marks in spite of sparks. That immediately, when you said that, made me think of Frankenstein. So I don't know, but I agree with Daniel. I think a different arrangement of this, a more upbeat, dancing arrangement of this probably would have been appropriate. I mean, it's a unique Blondie-esque song, and I'm not going to say I don't like it, but I'm still wanting to know who the Tingler is. So.
William Orbit should have remixed this song. That's what I'm thinking.
I agree.
That'd have been neat.
All right, Scott.
I was just thinking that on songs like this, and like I was talking about, the end of the album for me is a little bit of a slump. This is when you really miss the contributions from like Gary Valentine, Jimmy Destry, the people who are gone that really had a different songwriting style to contrast with what Debbie and Chris come up with. And I feel like, if any of them were still in the band, it would be holding up the soggy end of this album better.
Maybe that's why it felt like a Debbie solo to me, because it didn't have that turn that the albums have.
Yeah, it's like Debbie Concentrate without those other influences.
It's making me sneeze, making me wheeze.
Maybe you get a feeling about it being off like a Debbie solo album because it's a Debbie and Chris composition.
Right.
And if I remember correctly, what it was about is watching those kind of old horror movies or sci-fi movies in a movie theater that had the real early tactile effects where the chairs would vibrate, like the seats would vibrate, and now they have the mist comes out of the ceiling and there's wind and temperature changes and all of that in the modern versions of the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, nothing's vibrating over here. I'll tell you guys that much. All right. Any other thoughts on the Tingler? I'm tingle-less.
Yeah.
I'll give it a sideways. Damn. Oh, Jimmy, your hand is up.
I'm queuing up for the
Oh, you're
next one.
queuing up.
Yeah.
All right. So next we have Last One in the World. We're rocking again. The only one. We have this is a Jimmy Destry, I believe. Jimmy, take it away.
All right. First off, I wish it was the last song on the album.
Yes.
But I really am like Blondie rocks. I mean, I liked the ambition. I really liked the ambition. I think that it has some really great rock vocal treatments for Debbie that we haven't heard in previous songs. I think it could have been if it were just a little harder hitting. I would like it even more. Again, love the lyric. I mean, then when I listen to surround sound, I'm like writing love it like capital letters. This is like amazing. Piano break in it, So I really do think this is a solid track. I wish that either Debbie had. I wish they would go in if they would fully commit to a direction they're going to. So if they're going to do hard rock, just rock it out. They've got the power within the band to do that. But I like the song. Just kind of wish the album stopped with this one.
So don't make fun of me, but some of the melodies in the verse kind of gave me Invincible Pat Benatar vibes. And another thing I love Debbie, how she double tracked her low and high octave vocals. I thought that sounded great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, this is a good one. Charlie.
I'm the minority here. I think it's just a bit too busy production wise for me, unfortunately. And I can't really decipher everything that she's singing in it. And that's a bit, the double tracking's cool, but I do have a bit of an issue not understanding, fully comprehending what's being said here. So this is one definitely, it's got the bones of a good song, but could have been executed better.
All right, next we have Mark.
I think it's a good song. It's not like, for me, it's not a great song. I do like the vocal treatment on it. I'm glad that everyone said they love the double track with the higher and the lower register. I really like that. I also like the fact that you hear a little bit of, I guess it's the guys, but you hear the guys in the background like the only one. The only one. And I love hearing that like kind of raspy thing. It kind of reminded me of it's not, the songs don't sound at all alike, but it kind of reminded me of the guys coming in and out at Love at the Pier, where they were kind of had like, kind of slightly distorted and had an effect on their voice. It reminded me of that. I do feel that the song seemed a bit over, maybe overproduced is the word I'm looking for. And I felt it kind of made the song sound a little bit generic, or like you said, like, oh, it sounds like Pat Benatar is Invincible. Like it could have sounded like any like 80s, banger, from, from that time. I think there's a good song in there. There is a good song in there. It's definitely a good song. I just don't know if I completely agree with a lot of the production choices that were made on it, but I'm not necessarily angry with it at all. So I guess I like it.
We don't hear the guy singing a lot. The other one I thought of is Die Young, Stay Pretty, where they sing a little bit.
Love that.
Yeah, I feel like it's Invincible without the killer hook. All right. Any other thoughts on this one? Jim?
You just hit that on the head. I was trying to come up with the words, the nail on the head there. I was trying to come up with the words. It's the hook. There's something missing. Sometimes I feel like, and the word changes. It's like, oh, on the planet, on the earth, in the world, on the, the hook just didn't seem finished to me. But I mean, I like the song. I like the driving of it. I mean, I do. I don't think it's overproduced. I think it's got a really good drive to it. But man, that chorus, if that chorus could have been tweaked a little bit, that really could have been a power song, you know, a good rocking power song by then.
Yeah, that's my thought about this song too. I feel like that I mean I love anything about being the last person on the planet or the world. I mean, I grew up, you know, the Stand was my favorite book by Stephen King. So like anything that makes me think of that, although I know that's not what she's singing about, but this song is kind of a needed jolt of energy after the other songs, but it's not enough of a jolt,
right,
for me. It's like I'm kind of like,
Those bad ears are dying, baby. All right. Well, I guess I give any other thoughts. I didn't skip anybody, did I? Go ahead, Scott.
I was just gonna say, if it only had a chorus that took off a little more, like I think I agree with Jimmy that this should have been the last song on the record. Because even thematically, Last One in the World, that's a perfect title for the last song on the album. And it reminds me a little bit of a more sedate version of Living in the Real World. Sure. Except what that song has that this one needs is that like, hey, I'm living it, you know, that part that takes off. And this has got everything. It's okay to have that percolating verses, but then you want, by contrast, the chorus to get off the ground. And it's like you say, it just didn't. So it came close. I think it came close. And I like the song. And I wish the album had ended there. But I also wish that I had that one part that really soars.
I mean, now that I think about it, it sounds like the guys were bothered to wake up from a nap because they're like, the only one. Like they were laying down to wake up as they recorded. Yeah. They just lifted their head up. Just do the quick vocal take, boys, really quick. And this is why I love this podcast, because I think a lot of people talked about Parallel Lines track by track, but we're diving into the Curse of Blondie, and I fucking love it. I love it.
This is probably the first.
I can't wait for Panic of Girls, Ghost of Download, and Pollinator. I'm so excited. All right. I give it sideways. I don't think it sucks.
I liked it enough to give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. Diamond Bridge. Someone here loves the song. I feel like. Okay, Charlie.
I don't love the song, but I wish I like how it's an intro and it goes into a more builds a bit.
Right.
It does have a bit of that four on the floor disco kind of thing going for it a bit, but again, it's like if you're going to go with a thing, go with it full force. I wish this were like the full on Donna Summer Last Dance kind of start off slow, go into full disco. That's what I wish this was. So it's really lost a lot of lost potential here for me, and it's a really cool title. I just wish the song was as cool as the title.
It's like, if you can't give us Last Dance, at least give us the Lucky One, Laura Branigan level, right?
Yes, that's also a banger.
All right, Mark.
Charlie just basically said exactly what I thought about this song. Those were my little bit of trivia about this song is that for the longest time I skipped past this song because I didn't realize that it kicked in like about a minute into it.
Oh, really?
And so yeah, and so for the longest time, like this is back in the days of CDs, like, well, I mean, I still listen to CDs, but so I would just skip past it because it was like it's so quiet at the beginning too, and it doesn't kick in for like until like a minute into it, and all of a sudden it kicks in. And I agree though, like almost like if they had done it even more slow for that first or more soft, like and really made it and then really kicked it in, but had it really be like a dance. Like again, I hate keeping going back to the dance floor anthem type of thing, but it could have been something because I do like some stuff about this song. So
and this song kind of goes off on, like you don't kind of settle into a vibe.
Yeah,
Right.
and then it stops again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, my first introduction to this song was when I heard it live, and I was talking about that earlier. And so I really was really fond of it. It was actually the opening song to their concert, and it started off with that very cool, that just the guitar, and then Clem's kicking in, and I don't even think she had even come out on stage yet. It was just like that groove that was going on, and they just allowed the energy to just slowly build, and then crossing Diamond Bridge, and then boom, then the full-on drums kick in. It was a great moment. So you can imagine my disappointment when I heard the actual audio recording of it, because it just didn't pack that punch. But I mean, I guess very few things can pack the same punch that they do live. It was such a great live song, and she really tore into it at the end when I saw her. So it was just, kind of disappointing. Because there's a good song in there. There's a really good song in there. I just don't think it was executed properly, or put in, I don't know, the right production or the right format, or maybe it should have been a dance song. I love her performance in it. I love the lyrics of the song.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the story, it was very funny. Do you know what the story is? Because she's told it in like documentaries and stuff. Because it was when she used to go, it was like, I don't even know if I want to say the word, but she would go like cross over to the town over, and there was this highway where the girls used to walk along, and they would pick up strange guys and they'd hook up. And it's in her documentary. I won't say the word because I don't like that word, but it was that word, mile, and begins with C, ends with a T. And that's, I mean, I guess basically that's what the song was. And it was very funny. A friend of mine around that time had moved into Hawthorne, which is where she grew up. And we were just walking around the neighborhood. We were walking over this like little road bridge that was right there. And there was a little sign that was right there, and it was Diamond Bridge. And I was like, that's right. It's just all about like a coming of age or an adolescent moment. And then when I kind of found that out, I was like, I think I kind of like the song a little bit more. So that's my story on Diamond Bridge. There's a great song there, but it's just not on this album.
Well, thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Okay, before I call on you, which Jimmy are we getting here?
We're getting first round Jimmy. And I like diamonds. I like bridges. I just don't like this. However, the intro then started reminding me of the Doors. Like it reminded me like of the Doors song. So if it had gone somewhere, with that, in any direction, I think it would have helped it. But then when I'm again listening to it in surround sound, I wrote, "Oh my God, I love it!" And I have a quote around, "It feels fine." So I must have really liked the way she delivers that particular line in the song. So I think there were some elements to it, but yeah, I'm agreeing with everybody else. It just needed to maybe go somewhere. It never crossed the bridge.
All right, we have Jim and then Charlie.
Just as Scott changed my mind on the earlier song, Mark just did the same thing for this one. I'm not going to listen to it the same anymore, because I didn't know that story behind that song. I mean, I'm not from that area. I don't know much about that area or anything. And so, yeah, that's I'm going to listen to that a lot differently now. And I also want to agree with Mark's comment about live. I mean, I was seeing Blondie in that same tour as well, and you're right, live, that song was amazing. When they would open up the concert with that, and all of a sudden you just boom, after she goes into Diamond Bridge. But it's just really, it's a great live track that just did not translate to the recording. And then finally, Mark, if you can remember that documentary, I would love to know what it is, because I don't remember ever seeing a documentary where she talks about Diamond Bridge, and I'd love to see that. So you can just PM me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Drop it in the
On
chat.
YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Charlie Fern.
Um, just one more thought. This is a very random observation, but I wanted to put this out there for any Sheryl Crow fans out there. I just did a podcast not too long ago about her Come On, Come On album, and the title of this reminds me of Diamond Road from that album, which features Stevie Nicks on backing vocals. I don't know if any of you are Sheryl Crow fans or not.
I am.
But yeah, had to think of that. Had to say it.
See, I thought of Diamond Field from Pat Benatar's Tropico album, but I wasn't going to say it, but here we are. I had to say it. And then let's not forget Diamonds, Janet Jackson. 2 podcasts in a row we thought about.
Herb Albert.
We talked about that song yesterday, so 2 in a row. Okay. Yes?
Oh, I need to get on your Unbreakable podcast for Janet, for sure.
Dude.
That was all.
Unbreakable, maybe my favorite Janet. Like, that album just makes you cry. I love that album so much.
Yeah. Good memories of
it. I can't wait for next month. This could be I've been just waiting the whole time. All right. Diamond, back to Blondie. Diamond, what is it? Bridge, Road?
Diamond Bridge.
Okay. Oh, all right. Well, we are moving on to the last 2 songs of the album. I feel like this is where we move out of Manhattan and go to some fucking weird coffee house in Bushwick in Brooklyn. We get some saxophone. It's I don't think anyone in the band wrote these last 2 songs, right? They're covers. Desire Brings Me Back. Jim, your hand is up.
This sounds like something she should have done with the Jazz Passengers. And I believe the guy doing the horn, the sax, or whatever it is actually a Jazz Passenger member. He may be like the lead. I can't think of his name right now. But I believe he did the horn in that song. But yeah, this again, it's kind of got that Blondie vibe where you got the off-tuned, horn sound with her singing and everything. But it really, I totally agree with Jimmy and everybody else when, the last track should have been the last track. These should have been like B-sides or something. Although when we get to the very last song, I'm going to change my opinion on that. But this one should have definitely been a B-side or something.
Jimmy, I know you got to have something to say about this.
If Desire Brings Me Back, this song will make me leave.
That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, I just am like, it is a Jazz Passenger song. It belongs with the Jazz Passengers, and it needs to go with them and be with them. It does not need to be on a Blondie album, that song. Goodbye, Desire Brings Me Back.
Do we have any conflicting opinions? Justice for Desire Brings You Back, Daniel?
I don't hate this song. It reminds me almost kind of like of a song that would be on The Hunter. Like, I could picture it on The Hunter. Okay. Actually, more than this. I could picture it more on The Hunter than on this album, if that makes sense. Just because of the production. The Hunter had a lot of like pounding, like this song, once the horns kind of figure out what they're doing, because they're kind of going all over the place at the beginning. And then it kicks in with the like a lot of toms and stuff. Like there's a lot of that vibe on The Hunter too. So, but The Hunter already has enough songs on it. So
right.
Oh yeah.
Jim, is your hand still up or is it a new one?
No, I just wanted to echo what Daniel was saying. He actually said it as I was thinking it. The positive thing, Clem's drums on this song are great. The toms and everything. I mean, that's really what drives this song. And Clem shows up on this one.
It's interesting because you don't like when I listen to most Blondie albums, I'm like, Clem will do a fill or something. I'm like, oh, that's fucking Clem. And that doesn't happen to me a lot, hardly on this album. As much as
that was one of the criticisms about this album, is that there was not enough Clem-esque touches to it.
The drums are very lackluster for a lot of this album. I'm actually, the drums are my biggest complaint with this album.
He definitely gives it some anchor or some meat. And,
it really makes you appreciate dreaming.
Oh my gosh.
Which is like the best drumming that's ever happened ever.
Yes.
Can I assume, can I pretend I'm Jimmy for a second? If Clem Burke's drumming is dreaming, then his drumming on Cursive Blondie is a nightmare. Was that good? No? Okay. All right. Any other thoughts on this one? Scott?
I just want to say that this song literally enrages me. I hate it so much. I think that maybe only Little Caesar I hate as much as this song. And I don't. That's all I wanted to say. I just needed to vent. It makes me mad. That's how much I hate it. I'm angry.
Definitely the weakest on the album. I'll say that.
Well, it just makes me feel like, how much do you have to test us? Do you hate us? Like, we're trying to love you. Let us love you. Why don't we have to go to jazz school to love Blondie? Why? Why?
This song should have been on the soundtrack for I think it was Falling Down with Michael Douglas, where he plays this guy who kind of loses his mind and you know, he's like walking on the interstate and all these things are just, you know, compiling in his brain and just driving him crazy. This song would have been perfect in that movie.
I'm gonna break everyone's heart here, but I will commit to one day doing the Debbie solo albums, but there will not be a Jazz Passengers Phonogenics 101 or a Wind in the Willows Phonogenics 101.
That'd be a short one.
I apologize. All right. Any other thoughts on this one? Oh.
Yeah. Double.
All right. Sorry, Debbie, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
We love you.
Mm-hmm.
Songs of Love. The saxophone is still here. But someone really likes the song, right? Jim, didn't you say you're gonna?
I do. I love the song.
I love this
and you know, it's not a great song, but it hits me kind of like that line from the earlier song we were talking about. But I don't know. It's just kind of like floating on a wave or something as you're listening to it, and it's just very almost melancholy, maybe. I don't know. It just kind of, I sit back and I listen to it and I just kind of go, ah. And I like a song that makes me do that. So that's why I love this song. Should it have been on this album? Maybe not. Could have been a B-side, but I love the song.
It's interesting they called the album The Curse of Blondie because that's a good title for the album. And
actually, that's one of the reasons why they titled this, and Barry, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's because they had so much trouble getting this out. And Debbie made a joke, well, this is The Curse of Blondie. And there goes the title.
There it is.
And the album lived up to it.
Oh, I love this podcast. Happy New Year, you guys. This has been a good one.
Everybody listen to Curse of Blondie at the stroke of midnight.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not starting off next year with it. Okay.
Desire brings me back.
Oh, okay. Charlie, then Daniel, and then Mark are all lined up to talk about this last song.
I will say I definitely think it's a better song than the last song, but I am not happy with this being the closer to the album at all because, well, if you're going to have a song 6 to 7 minutes long to close out your album, I'm sorry, I think we need something epic, kind of. Like, I need something with punch. Or I need, like, a When the Levee Breaks or, like, something like that. This is just not it. It just kind of stays in the same place for me, and that doesn't work when your song's almost 7 minutes long. So that's all I have to say about it.
All right, Daniel.
I love this song. This is one of my favorite Blondie songs. To me, it's like Portishead meets the Taxi Driver soundtrack. Like that's what it reminds me of. The when those keyboards, there's these echoey keyboards in it that are so hypnotic to me, and I just think they're so gorgeous. I love Debbie's voice on this. I actually think here's my thing. If I was going to remake this, like if they were like, Daniel, like produce this, God, that would be awesome. Like reproduce this album for us. I would take out like probably 4 of the songs, maybe 3 or 4 of the songs. I would give it a much more, like, as I've said many times, like much more like focused dance floor ready thing. And this song already has, believe it or not, like it actually has like this electronica element to it, which I think would lend itself to an album that was more fully embracing being an electronica album. And then this is the slow electronic vibey song that could close it, or like maybe 3 songs before the closer, like it's like a break. I think this is, yeah, I love this song. This is like the weird thing about this album is it has 2 of my favorite Blondie songs on it. This song and Good Boys are 2 of my favorite Blondie songs. A lot of the album, I don't hate any of the songs on this album, but I do love this song. So that's my opinion.
All right, we have Mark and then Jim.
Yeah, I don't really have so much of a problem with like, because it is a long song, and I don't really have much of a problem with it. I actually like the moodiness of the song. I really like her vocal performance in this song. I almost feel as if it's just on the wrong album. When I listen to it, unlike any of the other songs on this album, it kind of evokes a feeling or a vibration. I mean, it almost makes me I don't know, a little uneasy or a little nervous or so, in some ways, or a little tense. I'm not exactly quite sure, but it does evoke a bit of like a vibration in it. I could almost see it as like more of like a soundtrack song or something like in a David Lynch film or something like that. But I think I do think it's a very good song, and I just think it's the wrong way to end the album, and I don't even know if it should be on the album, the way as it is produced, but I do think it's a really good piece of music, and I really do like it a lot.
All right, Jim.
So Daniel, you chose the word I was trying to think of before, hypnotic. The song is hypnotic for me. And then Charlie, I think you mentioned earlier about, oh, this would be great if William Orbit had remixed it. This song, I think, would be awesome if it had a William Orbit, almost Madonna Frozen type vibe to it. I think that, wow, that would be an awesome song.
Anything that sounds like Frozen is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great song.
Man, I remember the first time I heard Frozen. Like, it's all I listened to for probably a month. I'm like, I told my friends, I said, I'm never going to listen to another song the rest of my life. Dramatic, but I was very moved. All right. Any other thoughts on this song or yeah, Scott?
I just, for me, it's got a little bit of a James Bond theme feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have liked to have seen them sort of beef that up a little bit. That's what I like about it, is that sort of slower, haunting, moody, shifting feel that's in a lot of the James Bond themes. And that's what I like about it. I don't mind it. Yeah. I know I said the whole that I hated the whole end of this album, but this song can stay.
All right. Well, looks like we covered the 70s. We've done the 80s. We did the 90s, and now we've done the 2000s. So all we have left are the 2010s. Oh, this is just going by too fast. So the moment of truth, Curse of Blondie, scale of 1 to 10, Phonogenics, the rating system. Who dares? I'm just going to go in order of the panels. And then I'm going to go last. Jim, you're in my upper left.
No, don't do that to me. All right.
Do you want me to come back to you?
No, I'll be bold. I'm going to give it a 7.
7. All right. Mark.
Yeah, it's a 6.
A 6?
Yeah, it's a 6. I love Blondie. I'll listen to the album again. There's some great stuff in there. It's but it's a 6. It's not a 5. It's a 6.
Barry, do we have a rating from you?
Yeah, I'll go with that. 6 will work for me. There's some tracks on it I really love, and there's some that I wouldn't play. Again,
Ever.
I kind of call the album the Good Boys CD single with 13 bonus tracks. Okay, Jimmy, Curse of Blondie.
Ironically, you just said if I were to resequence this album, it would be a CD single of Good Boys. But in all seriousness, like Songs of Love, I didn't say anything about, but actually I do appreciate that song. I didn't have anything bitchy and witty to say about it because it's an interesting song. And it gets better as it goes along. It just is ill placed on this album, and it's after so many bad songs that it just ruins that one. Because you've heard so many that just aren't good. I think I'm gonna have to give it a 6 as well. I'm struggling with it because I look back and I gave The Hunter 7, and I hated so much of The Hunter. But there's almost more to hate on this album, I think, for me than The Hunter. So I'm sorry.
All right, Charlie, you're next.
It's a 5 for me. I'm gonna bring it down a bit. It's a 5.
All right, Scott.
I think I gave No Exit a 6. So, and I like this better, despite the fact that it needed to have the fat trimmed. I would have loved this album had it been. I think Rockbird only had 9 songs on it, right? This could have been a strong 9-song album, but instead it's a bloated 14-song album.
Mm-hmm.
And I think had it been nice and tight, we would be evaluating it much more generously. I love Good Boys, Undone, Goldenrod, Rules for Living. I like End to End, Last One in the World. That's a lot more songs than I like on No Exit. So I have to give it a higher score despite all the blubber. So I'm going to give it a 7 because I like it more than No Exit, but not as much as all the other stuff that I give 8s, 9s, and 10s to.
Cool. All right, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the songs. I'm probably gonna have to go with a 6, which is so weird for me to say about a Blondie album, but I agree with what was just said. I mean, if it was like a 9-song album and it just had the best of songs on here and they were produced like Good Boys, like where it was like where they really just went for that sound, they could have actually, and then like put in like what I said about the last song we talked about, because it has like a Portishead vibe, and maybe did like a couple songs like that anyways, but they didn't. So
yeah.
So they didn't. And again, it's like, to think about it this way. Okay, this is what I'm going to say about this album. It starts off with Debbie Harry being this person talking about like shit and dick and like all this other stuff, and like, who is this person? And then it ends with that beautiful song. So it's like, it is kind of a schizophrenic album. Like, when you think about it, starts off with that person and ends with this person. It's like, how do those 2 songs even end up on the same album? So yeah, 6.
All right. Well, let me dig into my body cavity to come up with a rating here. I can't remember what I gave The Hunter, but I'm going to say it's a 5 right now. So, because the only song I really love on that album is Orchid Club. And then there's other songs that I think are okay. But this album is what a journey. Like, this might be the longest podcast we've done. Well, probably because it's 14 songs. And by the way, I think I love every song on Rockbird, which might be a hot take. Even Buckle Up. I'll buckle up my damn seatbelt. But anyway, Curse of Blondie. You know, Jimmy, just like yesterday, Janet Jackson Discipline. I was like 6 or 6.5. It's in that range. Do you remember what I gave Discipline? Was it a 6?
6.5, I think.
All right, so let's give Curse of Blondie. Let's be on brand. I'll give it 6.5. only because I've pulled it out of my CD collection so many times just to listen to Good Boys. Like, I probably might have pulled out the CD more than other Blondie CDs just because I want to hear Good Boys. And I like Good Boys just as much as I like Bad Boys, so that's a whole nother podcast. So anyway, I will see you all in 2024. We're going to meet and talk about Panic of Girls, the fanzine that came out with all the pins and stuff. I would like to talk about the version with the bonus tracks, End of the World. This is one of my favorite Blondie songs.
Absolutely.
So if I can make that request of everybody. And let me just say, of course, thanks to the Patreon and everybody, but thank you guys for becoming my friend and for talking about the fucking Curse of Blondie for 2 hours and change. This was so awesome, and I can't wait for the next 3 podcasts. We're gonna have a blast.
I'm feeling a little depressed right now. I think I need to go take some Prozac.
Oh, well, we're definitely doing the solo albums. There's no doubt about it, because I got some love for Cuckoo and Rockbird, and I've learned to love Deaf, Dumb, and Blonde and Deprivation. Are we gonna do the regular version or Barry's version? And then
the Deprivation. Oh yeah,
yep, that's where I met Barry's through that album. All right. Well, I will see you guys next year. It's been such a pleasure. And drop anything in the chat that we need to follow up on. And have a great holiday, everybody.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Bye.
Happy holiday, guys.
Remember,
Bye.
desire brings you back, everybody. Remember.
Bye.